It's
Sorry.
okay.
um. Yes. So, are we gonna start soon? Are we waiting for anybody else, or just me? I love your
Well,
Guardians of the Galaxy poster behind you, Kit.
that is oddly enough required for us to see her.
Yes, because
Without it, she
there's.
was shrouded in darkness.
Well, I think this one might be quick. I really don't have that much to comment on these, so I really hope if people are alright with these, we do a quick story, and then we have a discussion of like, what? Because I honestly want to have this discussion of what should I have gotten out of this that was pretty cool, because I was kind of bored with these comics. So, looking for that conversation to happen if people are cool with that.
I thought I was bored because I was lost. So, cool. This will be good.
Okay. All right, cool. So, do you want me to give the preview of the first one, Jesse? Or do
Well,
you
we
want to
should maybe,
start us off?
yeah, we should start the episode.
Okay.
Oh, what? There's
All right,
an order to these things.
slightly, just a little bit. We have a
Tad.
beginning and an end, and stuff that goes in the middle. So,
That sounds accurate.
It's all entropy in the middle, but there's
Yep.
right.
beginning and end. So.
Okay. Welcome to Cosmic Tales, episode 21, a Guardians of the Galaxy podcast. I'm Jesse Butler, and I'm here with...
Keenan Kibrick.
And I'm Kit Paris.
Today we are finishing talking about the Captain Marvel Drax storyline. We started last episode. We're continuing in Captain Marvel 62. I should probably recap for those of you who skipped last episode.
Including Kit.
Wah,
And
wah, wah.
Keenan. But have no fear, since both of us missed it, it really does a good job of kind of guessing where I can gather most of the story pretty quickly. But Jesse, fill in the beginning.
This is
Well-
going to be so funny. Okay.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Oh, I was going to give a really short version, but...
Give a short version. We get it.
Okay, so Drax the Destroyer is floating around in space and realizes because of that Thanos. Oh wait, no, I think he actually finally he senses just the inkling of Thanos and finds Thanos' ship and the statue of Thanos and goes, "Oh my! Someone killed Thanos for me." That makes me really angry. It must have been Captain Marvel, because he's the only one who could have. So then he goes and finds Captain Marvel, who is trying to be kind of normalish on Earth. And he tries to beat the hell out of Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel realizes that, this is because Drax thinks he killed Thanos. He didn't kill Thanos, but he doesn't bother to tell Drax this. But eventually, after a bunch of fighting, they get warned by Isaac that Thanos' minions have taken over Titan. This is a lie. I'm not really sure what Isaac's plan is, but Isaac has actually been reprogrammed by Thanos to continue on Thanos' evil plan. For reasons. I don't know. So, Drax decides that that he will put aside his righteous vengeance on Captain Marvel for taking away his purpose in life, and they will team up to defeat the minions of Thanos, and then afterwards he will kill Captain Marvel. Because Drax. So,
But this whole time, Isaac is now a bad guy.
So Isaac has been corrupted by Thanos and is now a bad guy. So they fly to Titan, and they wander around in some weird places in Titan. You missed out on him fighting Gaia, the Earth God, not goddess, god. Looks like a troll king or goblin king, or anyway. And then
Nice.
they meet up with Dionysus and get drunk, and Dionysus is too lazy to kill him for Isaac, and just drops him off at a random temple. They don't go in the temple and just wander back in the forest. Eventually, they meet up with Eleusis. That's her name.
Elysius?
Eleusis, and she eventually they almost fight, but then they basically convince her to join their side, and now the three of them have gone to rescue more things. But Isaac has created two things in his biovats. One of them is Stellarax, who is kind of a weird cyborg dude, and the other is that was, I think, revealed to the splash page of last issue. Let me just double check there. Am I wrong? No, it was actually in the middle of last issue. Is that Isaac has grown a body for himself. And, yeah. So, anyway, we're in the middle of this epic story of rescuing Titan from Thanos-corrupted Isaac.
So, should I start summing up the issue?
Well, let's go ahead and give the credits here. So this is Captain Marvel 62, Earth Skirmish, written by Doug Munch, penciled by Pat Broderick, inked by Bruce Patterson, letters Jay Costanza, colors In Yumtov, editor Roger Stern, editor-in-chief Jim Shooter. So yes, Keenan, take it away.
All right, to start with this, and any side commentary you want to throw in as I give this description, please do, there is Sterilax, Stellarax. But not only is there Stellarax, there is our good old friend who was once Captain Marvel, Rick Jones, and his girlfriend, Gertie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I forgot to mention, so Captain Marvel and Rick had split up. Like I said, Captain Marvel was trying to be a normal human and was working in an observatory, but terrible things happened, so that was a bad idea. But meanwhile, Rick Jones had reformed his band and was on a European tour when he saw newspapers about aliens landing in somewhere in the United States, right, and said, "Screw this band famous thing. I'm going to go investigate because clearly I'm terrible."
And Gertie, who is also a rock star, right? Gertie is a rock star, or is she just a bandy?
I think she's just his groupie.
All right, groupie decides to join him on this adventure, and they encounter Stellarax, who, by the way, is known for saying one thing repeatedly way too many times. Look, I have a death ray, and I will destroy Earth in 24 hours. He says this about 20 times. I swear to God, I thought it was a hologram. But pretty much he says, I will destroy the Earth in 24 hours, and keeps repeating it to Rick and other people. Meanwhile, Captain Marvel and Drax come to Earth to go stop him. And then it shows lots of scenes of people like military soldiers and police trying to destroy Stellarax. And Stellarax keeps just saying, I will destroy Earth in 24 hours with a death ray. And that pretty much happens. And then suddenly everybody realizes all their technology is gone. None of their energy in the Earth is getting basically drained or something, and they believe it must be Stellarax. So Drax goes to destroy Stellarax's ship, and Captain Marvel goes to fight Stellarax, and they basically begin fighting, and Stellarax begins to beat Captain Marvel. Meanwhile, Rick Jones gets captured by Stellarax's people because he thinks he can fight and help with it. And while they're captured by these aliens and Stellarax, Drax comes to save them, and good old Drax does whatever Drax does and blows stuff up without any form of consequences, like blowing up the air, and Rick Jones has to yell at him, give us air or we're going to die, because, Drax the Destroyer. Love his one-way things. Anyway, Captain Marvel and Stellarax keep fighting. Drax takes on a whole alien army and just beats the pulp out of them. And meanwhile, throughout this whole time, everyone on Titan is dying of suffocation because Isaac is literally just taking out the air of Titan and just killing everybody there by just taking out all the air. And they keep on fighting for the whole issue between Drax fighting every single alien possible on a ship and Captain Marvel fighting Stellarax. And then at the end, Rick Jones, meanwhile, this whole time manages to at least stop the death ray by narrowly angling the ship so it blows up a death ray no more than a quarter mile above Earth, which actually shows a death ray between a plane and Earth. That is how close they were from being destroyed. And then Captain Marvel realizes Stellarex had a special weapon that did all the energy cancellation, and they blow it up. And then they realize they need to get back to Titan. And Rick Jones and his groovy girlfriend are like, you know what's cooler than a Rock Band European tour? Space. Let's go do this. That's the issue in a nutshell.
I have to admit that I can't argue with the logic that space is much cooler than a European Rockstar tour.
So
I guess.
I do love this line at the end. But first we'll take you and Gertie back down to Earth before. They're like, no, we want to go help you, Marv. But there will be danger. Well, it'll be weird, I'm convinced of that much, but danger? I guess you've never been in a limo with a rock star trying to get from the theater back to the hotel. It's like, what?
Yes.
Yes, that is so much more dangerous than fighting Titans in space.
But you can't leave out Marvel's response. In a way, I think I have, Gertie. But if you're determined to come with us, let's go.
Don't forget the amazing wink of Rick Jones.
Rick Jones, yeah. So they're both, they both know what's going on, and they're playing nice with Gertie, and she's just being headstrong, and it's adorable. It's very playful.
Yeah. And that's really about it. Anybody want to talk about it? It's kind of actually, to me personally, we can start this. It's a little bit boring. The action is kind of just, they do, I think, too much fighting between the action. It doesn't look like anybody's really in danger. And mainly, if you like Drax breaking things, he does a lot of breaking things. Especially when he says things like, the Destroyer always welcomes a chance to destroy. But overall, it was kind of uneventful and not heroing fight. Anybody else want to add or give me a different perspective?
No, I mean, it's extra boring, and there's a whole, issue before this setting up this non-fight. I mean, it's a fight, but it's like, yeah, this whole storyline is way too long.
Yes.
For what it delivers.
Well,
especially, go ahead, Kit.
Oh no, please finish.
Well, so especially because we already saw the Drax wants to kill Captain Marvel for having defeated Thanos story already. This is a repeat. So the only thing new that comes out of this is some new characters that get introduced on Titan. But really, it's like a long-form version of a story we've already read.
So for me, what was interesting was seeing the change in Drax from what we've seen before. And Keenan's favorite part about Drax is that he has the blinders on and he's so narrow focused. All I can think about is killing Thanos in whatever way possible. And now he's expanded that to killing whatever killed Thanos in whatever way possible. And then he's taken it another step further to actually helping people. And he's not fully, what's the phrase I'm looking for? He's not like thinking everything through yet. He's not thinking about, oh, humans still need air to breathe. But it's still this development in his character that's taking a very, very long time to do, but you're still seeing these changes in him where his motivations are changing, his thoughts and ideas are changing, and Drax is slowly becoming more and more human, which I think is really cool.
You totally went into this, because I still see him, I mean, I'll give it that. That gives us a little more meaning to me. To me, I still see Drax just saying destroy, 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 and without Thanos, he's just doing it to the next alien threat. But I mean, he blows a hole in this ship and doesn't even care that there's like no air in it. They have to remind him we need air to breathe.
But before, I might be misremembering, or I might be remembering something I read in a different issue. But I remember something about Drax, once Thanos was defeated, Drax saying his life's purpose was over, and basically talking about committing seppuku. But now he's saying my life's purpose isn't over. I'm going to kill the person who killed Thanos because they took that from me. But I'm also going to do all this other stuff in between. And so to me, that's still character growth.
Okay, I'll give it that. Jesse, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'd say yes, although, like I said, we've sort of seen this basic story before where he tried to kill Captain Marvel for killing Thanos, although this was before Thanos was dead. But anyway.
But you can't be mad about them repeating stories if they're going to, I mean,
yeah.
If it was garbage, if they literally just reprinted the same story, then I'd be upset. But using the same concept, it's okay for these people's paths to cross multiple times and for the motivations to be similar. That's okay by me. As long as you're giving me something new, something interesting, you're still building the characters.
Yeah, I think it's just that this is 7 issues for this story when it probably felt like it should have been 4.
I will agree with that.
And we'll go into the next
So-
one and kind of explain it that way. I mean, really, if we're do we want to talk about? We might as well, maybe we should kind of go through this whole arc.
Well, so I do want to say this is kind of weird, especially like if you were reading the comics at the time. I don't know why, but so that ends at Captain Marvel 62, and then for whatever reason they drop his title, but then they make Marvel Spotlight and make it Marvel Spotlight on Captain Marvel. So like in the middle of this storyline, you go and switch to a completely different book and get Marvel Spotlight on Captain Marvel #1.
Did they cancel the Captain Marvel title? Or was this
I
just
think so. I mean, because that's the last Captain Marvel issue, and then it switched over to here to finish the story. And I don't know how long he lasted in Marvel Spotlight before it switched to something else.
I wonder what
yeah.
the publication dates are.
Sure, we could look that up.
It looks like it's about a month because Captain Marvel is May and Marvel Spotlight is June. Wow, yeah, that's a very bizarre transition.
Well, I'm guessing is that this was supposed to be 63, and they just redid the cover and put it in. Like, I don't know, maybe they thought launching a new #1 would get them new sales, although, like, well, that's an interesting theory. Launching the new #1 in the middle of a storyline does not seem like it would engender new readers to jump in on.
I'm sorry, this Captain Marvel's Spotlight was July 1979. So when did... Yeah, okay, so it's a 2-month gap, but still, I'm not sure what the motivation was there. It's very bizarre for them to switch titles like that. You're not going to gain new readership. You're just going to piss off the loyal readers you already had.
Right.
And it costs more.
Yeah. So, yes, Keenan, you want to go ahead and tell us what the next 2 issues are like?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is they go and try to. So I'm going to do kind of quick summaries because, as you say, this is one arc that we've kind of seen before. All 4 of them now inside Sterilex's ship go invade the planet of Titan, while everybody on Titan, like you literally, I will say this, the art of them being suffocated on the planet in some of the panels is horrifying. They really do a good job of them suffocating, but it is pretty much Eros and everybody else on Titan is suffocating because Isaac is remaking itself and trying to kill everybody on it. And while they're doing, they finally see that they're alive, and they're all just holding on, basically breathing the last air on the planet, as Captain Marvel and Drax destroy everything, along, by the way, with Rick Jones. He gets in a spacesuit and also is shooting people.
And Gertie.
And Gertie, yes. Gertie also is in a spacesuit shooting people. And then at one part I love Captain Marvel flies away, and they're like, well, how can we catch him? And somehow they magically hitch a ride on his tail of stardust and are able to fly with him. I have no clue how that's possible, if that even is possible, but I'd love to see a Superman issue where Superman flies and someone just flies behind him in the wake of the wind. And they go to the planet, and basically there is Drax and Captain Marvel once again still fighting everything. And the one thing that's interesting about this fight is, as it's all happening, you hear Isaac go, "All right, everybody's on Titan now. Launch all the nukes at Titan." So apparently, I guess Titan has another moon on it of Saturn that's just a missile base, and they launch every single missile on the base at Titan to blow it up completely. And then they, of course, realize it's going on, and actually like it that the aliens on the planet that are capturing them were like, wait, no, we were supposed to fight you and take over this planet. That's what Stellax said. This Isaac guy is crazy. So Isaac the computer basically decides he's going to blow up everyone, including them. And the bad guys are like, we're not going to join Isaac anymore. He's literally going to blow us up too. Save us, save us. And so they build a wall out of the rocks around Saturn's ring. And with this raw around the ring, Drax and Captain Marvel manage to make a wall that survives every single exploded nuclear missile. And then I even like that they go to the bad guys and are like, "You're not going to cause any trouble anymore," like with a finger wag. And they're like, "No, we're going to be good again. We're sorry. Isaac convinced us of this." And then the big thing is Stellarex. At one point, they notice after everything, his body disappears, and it kind of ends with the fact where you realize they're going to go up against the big final fight, where Isaac is reborn in a body, and he resummons Stellarex back alive into a new body, same one as before, and two others, and they go in a giant battle against Stellarex and Isaac in a body. And you can kind of guess what Volume 2 is all about. It is pretty much a gigantic fight between all of them and all the bad guys they already fought before. In the words of Dr. McNinja, because that's my other favorite webcomic right now, and it literally has this in the line of it right now. They say I would say the words, "Ooh." Hold on, I'm actually on the comic right now to remember it, or the lines. "Yes, it's a boss rush." And that's effectively what it is, a giant boss rush. They fight all these enemies they fought before, and lots of shooting, lots of blasting, lots of grabbing, and then they, of course, save the day and beat Isaac in his body, and actually they more, by beat, drive him mad. And that's it.
So, is a boss rush a boss fight and a Zerg rush put together?
No, boss rush is in all the video games. Like, after you beat all the bosses, you have to go again and fight the bosses again. But now you have to fight all the bosses at once with your same amount of health after you're weak. And that's what happens.
Okay, that makes sense.
Is that all right, Jesse? Anything you want to add? But I think this is a total boss rush.
Pretty much. Do you have anything to add, Jeff?
No.
Hi,
I
Jeff.
agree wholeheartedly.
All right, so now we're here in these comics, and we talked about them. The reason I went by so fast with it and kind of gave a quick summary is this story really wasn't that engaging to me. It was very much that whole thing of it felt like a boss rush type of thing here, and they fight the bad guys, they beat Isaac. In no time do I feel they really were in danger or anything really bad was going to happen. And it didn't feel like these comics really got the story of Captain Marvel progressing in some way. I wanted to actually have a little bit of discussion with you guys of what are your thoughts on that, because that's what I felt with these issues.
Well, did we want to talk about the epilogue real quick, or do we want to wait for later?
I think we should include the epilogue, just because a lot of my arguments involve it.
So, at the end there's this party. Dionysus is giving out wine, and Rick's like, "What's wrong, Marvel? Why so glum? Is it Drax?" And Marvel's like, "Yes, Rick. I was wondering if Drax." And Drax says, "No need to fear me, Marvel. If you ever did, you have life, and I will not take it. You have love, while I've had nothing but obsession and hate for too long a time. Perhaps it is time I stopped being the destroyer. Perhaps I should try to become some sort of creator. Or perhaps I should merely dream the stars endlessly until I destroy myself. Farewell." Then he flies off.
So for me, that epilogue is super important because it makes all of these issues, they suddenly have a purpose. It's, again, they're changing the motivations and the character profile for Drax, and he's growing and becoming more human. And the fact that he is this, I think we decided he was an android with human spirit that was created by a god from Titan, right? So the fact that they're showing this android creature becoming more and more human and enveloping more and more of who he, quote, used to be is incredible. And it adds this extra dimension to all of these issues that I'm just going back and rereading them. All I'm seeing is the progression of Drax and how he's growing and how he's changing. Go ahead.
Oh, no, actually, you have to skip me.
You sneeze?
Yeah, so like I said, I think I definitely like where it got there in the end. I just think it took too long to get there, so it's a little slow. I mean, this is 7 issues. It probably could have been 4.
I will totally agree with that, although I will say that if in 4 issues Drax suddenly flipped around and was, I'm going to go try and be a creator now, I think we'd have things to complain about then, too.
Yeah, maybe.
So for me, I'm going to keep monopolizing the conversation here.
Take it.
There were a couple things that really stood out to me in the Marvel Spotlight 1, and the first one is that Rick Jones has the line on the second page where he says, "But what are the rings? I always thought they were bands of light." And you get this weird educational moment where Drax is teaching him that actually the rings of Saturn are not bands of light. They happen to be bits of rock that rotate and reflect light, and because they are frozen, they reflect the light of the sun, and therefore we can see them. La 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 la, I am Bill Nye. Isn't that nice? And I really, really loved that moment because one of the cool things about the Cosmic Comics is, as a space geek, they're teaching kids about space. And even though a lot of it's fictionalized and a lot of it is romanticized and there's this action going on and there's all this craziness, there's still these little nuggets of actual astrophysics in there. And every single time one of them comes up, I just go, oh my God, I learned something. Or whoever read this back in 1979 learned something. This is 10 years after we landed on the moon and we're explaining what the rings of Saturn are made out of. That is badass. Okay, sorry.
No, I think actually that is I noticed the same thing in it, and I will agree that that is a very good take on it that I appreciate. That, yeah, they do have a little science lesson in here that's important. So yeah, no, totally. That makes so much sense. And I'll say, I did make kind of fun of it for what it is, but I like that they actually gave Rick Jones a way back into the comic to be a character again. I know it's kind of weird and goofy, but I really liked Rick Jones, and when they kind of split up, I was like, but Rick Jones, he's just going to lose his importance, and so I was glad he's back in it as a character, and that's something I enjoyed as well because I don't know, something about Rick Jones is always a cool thing to have this character that was so totally out of place, not a hero in any way, and still trying to do something.
For me, it works better now that they're separated because the fish out of water, average Joe Rick Jones is a great thing to play off of this egotistical, cocky, albeit he has every right to be, Captain Marvel. And so when you have them in separate bodies, I think that it works even better than having the separate internal monologue.
Though I don't like it because the other thing that does is I like him there, but I look at it and go, why is he here? He has no reason to be here whatsoever. And that would be my argument for that one.
Because he's had a taste of it and now he can't let. It's like Doctor Who companions, right? They get to see something and they can't ever leave it unless something tragic happens and they have to leave the Doctor because it's just so impactful on their life.
And you can actually emphasize that a little bit more considering all of Rick Jones' history. The fact that he ran around with the Hulk for a while, he ran around with Captain America for a while, hooked up with Captain Marvel, and then I'm pretty sure consecutively after that, a whole bunch of other things happened to him that always kind of keep him in that superhero spotlight, even if he doesn't have powers at the time.
Okay, I can give it that.
But yeah, I think Rick Jones, much like the original intention with Spider-Man, was supposed to be, here is your reader insert character to some degree.
Yes, and that is, I believe, what he was supposed to be in the 70s. He was the Spider-Man of the 70s.
Yeah, but without the powers and everything like that. And the thing is that either the writers really liked him or the readers really liked him because of the fact that he keeps cropping up, he keeps associating with these other people. So either he resonated really well with the writers, where they felt like, okay, this gives us something that we can step from, or he resonated really well with the readers. And so that's why we keep seeing him pop up later and later. I mean, I was reading a Doctor Strange from the 90s, and he pops up in that.
Oh, that's incredible, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is Rick Jones getting married to a woman? I don't know if it's one of these previous girlfriends, because it's just kind of a brief little sub-story in the main overarching one. But yeah, they keep Rick Jones around for a very long time.
At some point he gets powers.
Yeah, I think right now he's been exposed to gamma radiation, so he does the whole Hulky type thing, except he's blue.
So I also wanted to mention that this story introduces Elysius, and the other part in the epilogue after Drax leaves is, Elysius is flirting with Captain Marvel some, and, he says, well, we'll, rejoice today, but tomorrow we shall speak of Una. And she's like, Una? And he's like, it's a long story. And I kind of wanted to look at just a little bit of the next issue, just because the Captain Marvel Elysius story is important for a bunch of things that will come much, much later. But,
well, I didn't read it, but do you want to give us a little example of it or what's going on with it?
Yeah, let me pull it up because that's not in my book. Because it doesn't actually have Drax or. So, basically, the first half of Marvel Spotlight 3 is, literally a long epilogue for the last story.
Mm-hmm.
It just has Captain Marvel and Elysius hanging out on Titan, sort of relaxing. He kind of recaps his origin story and tells about how he was in love with the medic Una, and then when they came to Earth and he became Captain Marvel, she died, and how that has, made him cautious to love again. They hang out for some more. Rick Jones is like, hey, can we finally get back to Earth? We've been, hanging out on Titan for a month. And she's like, yes, I wish I couldn't leave. And she's like, well, I'll go with you. Are you sure? It's dangerous to be with me. And she's like, I'm not Una. I can take care of myself. And they kiss, and then they fly off. And then they go off and do other adventures, and that's not really important to what we're going on, because we're not going to continue following his story from there. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of interesting. They actually took, what is it? 2, 3, 4, 5. 8 pages or so to just slow down and have not, no fight scenes, just them hanging out together, talking, recapping some backstory, but, actually slowed down to have some romance and not just punching all the time.
And that was something that we saw in Spotlight number 1. If we could go back to these incredibly intense scenes of people suffocating, which are nightmare fuel in and of themselves. I mean,
seriously are.
It's hard to look at. Yeah. But there's a couple of really important things that happen here. One is that there's the scene where they talk about Star Fox, or Eros as he's known. He looks across at beautiful Ulysses and his eyes blur. And you get this moment of, oh, huh? And then later, I think it's 4 pages. It's barely any time. They're talking about how Marvel is in danger, and Ulysses wakes up just enough to go, no! And you automatically have this romantic tension between the 3 characters. You know exactly what's going on there. You know everybody's, feelings towards each other, and it's really subtly done, but then the seeds are planted so early for this really long epilogue issue that's 2 issues later to basically be entirely about a couple of panels that were separated by multiple pages in the first issue.
Yeah, there's definitely, in the earlier part, before Elysius even meets Captain Marvel, some things setting up the Star Fox. I guess he's Eros at this point. So Eros and Elysius having some attraction, and then she meets Captain Marvel, and it kind of goes from there.
He is Star Fox. I don't care what he's calling himself now. The other thing that really stuck out to me was on page 3, when they first start showing the people on Titan dying. The last panel, sorry, the panel at the bottom of the page to the far left, and it says, Dionysus, the pitiable god of lusty joy, can only weep. And as much as Marvel messes around with mythos and completely rewrites backstories of gods for their own whatever. That is such a Dionysus thing to do. Just be like, I am so pitiable. I'm dying. I'm going to cry now because I can no longer wine and dine and orgy and oh, pity me, pity me. It was just, I laughed out loud at that one panel. It was so good. Okay, that's all I had. Sorry.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
He's got his priorities.
And
Yeah, I will say I think this ended much stronger than it began because the last couple issues there may be lots of fight, that takes time, but it definitely felt like a much stronger ending than the kind of slow build to it that the first 4 issues were.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I didn't like is in the final battle, Isaac was never, it didn't felt like for a boss rush, Isaac did not seem like the best bad guy, I guess. Like, in the end, the way they beat him by giving him life and feeling life and knowing the maelstrom of experience and everything and driving him mad. It was okay. It was good. I get how they did it. I don't know. Isaac's supercomputer, I feel the supercomputer thing is done so many times. Amazing Isaac was first, but maybe now I'm just jaded and it's so cliche.
Well, I mean, they already previously had that with Ultron. With
Yeah.
him, being one thing who can make himself multiple times and be in multiple iterations of himself, and this does kind of smack a little bit of that. Particularly the as you said, the boss rush setup where he sucks up Stellarex and all of a sudden he's like, wait, I can break them down? That means I can remake them. I'll remake a whole bunch of them. I'll make myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
I mean, as you said, it's interesting that Marvel's
Well, anything else we
action
want to
is
add?
to expose him to effectively his cosmic awareness, and that's the way he solves it. He doesn't solve it with just complete outright violence.
Did I lose anybody, or are we just quiet?
I think you've lost connection. Can you hear us?
Did I accidentally mute?
No, I accidentally
can hear
muted.
you.
Sorry,
Oh.
I muted myself.
Okay.
I just suddenly all sounds started going off. I'm like, what happened? I'm looking at everything, and then I have the mute button on my thing, and I accidentally clicked it. Sorry.
Yeah, I've done that multiple times before with previous headsets.
Yeah. So what were you saying? I wanted to hear.
Sorry, I was saying that it was interesting that the resolution was without violence, considering all of the violence that led up to this and all the violence in Marvel's story, in that the way he defeats him is, as you said, by effectively extending his cosmic awareness so that Isaac is overwhelmed by the understanding of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a more interesting way of doing it, because usually with Ultron it's the beat the crap out of them until they explode.
It's a very cerebral demise.
It is, and it certainly speaks to a different type of writing that you can see hints of it in Marvel's story, but it certainly does represent something of a shift here.
And personally, I don't mind it when Marvel, the publisher, Marvel, repeats a theme across titles. If it's in the same title, I think that repeating a storyline is kind of cheating. But if you're doing something in the Avengers and then you go ahead and you do something very similar in the cosmic stuff, I feel to me that you get a little more leeway there, because not everybody's reading everything they're putting out. So it's possible that whoever was reading this didn't read the Avengers, and this might be a whole new story to them. And I'm willing to give it a little bit more leeway just because of that, but I fully agree with you that they are kind of playing this trope of I'm an AI with the ability to rebuild myself, and I'm just going to keep rebuilding all these bosses and all these enemies, and oh, hey, look, I can rebuild myself, and I can rebuild Starlax, and I'm going to throw everything I can at you, and you're going to defeat me, but I'm just going to show up again because I can rebuild myself.
Yeah, they did that a lot with AIs, because the Vision also kind of fell into that cycle with assuming that humanity was going to destroy itself unless they intervened, taking over all the computers in the world, and then in order to stop him, they had to pretty much completely purge him, so he was just a blank template again. So he forgot everything, and they had to put in a new personality and everything like that. And you kind of see that with a lot of the ways that they treat AI here, which probably is a reflection of the science fiction at the time. But yeah, because I mean, even Isaac, who through Thanos' programming sort of became fully autonomous, whereas before he was more of a just a mechanism that was supporting Titan and a data bank that they could reference. Now you have him, once he's achieved that crest of individuality, they crush it, which is an interesting take on it, because since he's suddenly realizing all of the struggles and all of the triumphs of intelligent life across the universe, you could take it in one direction where he finally realizes, wait, I shouldn't be doing this, or it's all too much, I go crazy, and to save myself I have to completely purge everything that's allowing me to understand all this. And they go with the purge, which, considering how much emotion they're putting into Isaac in these points, seems a little weird, but I suppose it's flipping back to the idea that AIs at their core are nothing more than machines.
Right.
As opposed to taking him on as sentient beings.
For me, that's exactly what it was. Instead of going the route of we've reached the singularity and he's developed his own personality and his own consciousness, it's we've reached a point where he seems like he has, but he still doesn't have empathy and humanity. And so he decides to purge it from himself rather than accepting those, flaws, as it were. And I think that's a huge sign of what the people who were writing this were reading in science fiction at the time.
Mm. But it does also set up that interesting juxtaposition, because at the same time, with the Visions story, they're desperately trying to push the, yes, he's a mechanical man, yes, he's an android, but he's so much more, and he really is alive.
Because he's accepted humanity.
My guess, even though he still has that sort of Vulcan approach to it. But yeah, I mean, they spend an entire mini-series with him and the Scarlet Witch exploring all of that and dealing with all of that. So it's weird to see Isaac, although he has a shorter build-up, clearly, than the Vision does, to get that same sort of thing and sort of have the almost forced-on moment of pure human understanding, or intelligent life understanding, since we're dealing with Kree and everything else. And what that does to him is drive him crazy and shut him down, whereas the Vision, through the slow attrition of being around human beings and coming to his own understanding of love, they're really emphasizing that he's real and alive, and Isaac is just the product of Thanos' programming and can't actually be allowed to continue as this semi-sentient being. If any of that makes sense.
No,
It
that makes
does.
sense.
No, it does, yeah. That
So-
actually makes a lot of sense. Like, because, yeah, no, I'm going to be quiet. That's great.
No, Keenan, what's your take? What are you thinking right now?
Well, so that is something that I like that they made that difference of. I mean, the human experience is something important. They really emphasize that in these universes. And even today in fiction, the human experience is something that is powerful. And I like with the Vision, it's a growth of the human experience. And with Isaac, it's an AI that is overwhelming of the human experience. I guess the difference would be also, if you take that into account, that Isaac is a supercomputer, like a planet-wide supercomputer. So when he experiences the human experience, it is overwhelming because you have the AI of a supercomputer. You literally can't handle the universe's experience. But Vision has the Data from Star Trek level of experience, and I guess Data was actually probably made from the Vision, where they're learning it piece by piece. And look how much difference an AI can react to humanity with both those types of paths to take.
Mm-hmm. And there's
Does that make sense?
there's a whole cross-reference /fic that you've got going on that what actually happens with Data is that he isn't constructed by Sung. He just finds the Vision's discarded body on a distant planet and rebuilds him.
Let's not go into crossing genres or
Sorry.
titles or.
No, that was beautiful. Somebody write that.
I'm pretty sure it's been written.
I'm sure. Or they've
Done.
met in some cross-dimensional transover and then it went all special.
So anyway, I did look up Stellarex to see if he ever shows up again, and other than a brief mention in a later Captain Marvel story, no.
Yay! I'm
I do
sorry.
like-
He was.
In my opinion, one of the lamest villains ever.
Oh, absolutely, because he said for the 1000th time that he has a death ray and he will use it to destroy Earth.
Precisely. And he's created by Isaac. There's no struggle with him breaking out of Isaac's control. It's just like, oh yeah, Isaac made me so perfect that I'm no longer in his control, so I'm just going to do whatever I want.
But
He's
couldn't
like
you?
a petulant 4-year-old
Yeah,
with a death ray that he's going to use
within 24 hours.
within 24 hours.
Well, couldn't you look at that as if AI is creating AI, then of course it's going to be flawed, and it's not going to have the ability to really think. I mean, you're going back to Drax having the blinders on, right? He's unable to think of anything beyond his mission because the person who created him was unable to think of anything beyond the mission of creating him.
God
Maybe.
damn it! Why do we keep getting more logic in this thing?
Sorry.
Can't we say it's like, no, it's really good logic, Kit. It's really good logic, but that's why I don't like it, because I want to just say Stellarex is a badly written villain, and now we're like, no, we can justify it. Why must we do this in comic books?
He is a terribly written villain. I just really love doing this to you and making your brain implode. Also, Jesse reminds me of the neighbor from Home Improvement right now because he's like, there we go. Hey, you have something below your nose. Okay.
All
sorry.
right. So, what is next on our agenda after this one?
Well, I actually haven't quite decided what we're going to do next, because let's see. I think next is going to be a couple Star-Lord issues.
Yay!
And then we have a really weird story in Marvel 2-in-1.
I love when he sets things up like that. We have a really weird story, and it's in a 2-in-1. It's like these are the two elements of a really, really
like, why are we
awesome
doing Star-Lord
raid photo.
next? Let's take a break from
No,
continuity. We need something good. Is it weird and good?
Sure. So,
Well,
Marvel
that's what
2-in-1
we
is a
gotta do
title.
Is it what?
Marvel 2-in-1 is a title of a comic.
Okay. Right.
It is usually
Spider-Man
the Thing
teams up with someone. Oh,
No,
the Thing.
that Marvel Team Up is Spider-Man teams up with someone. Marvel 2-in-1 is the Things teams up with someone. So
Yeah.
this is actually sort of weirdly tangential because it's the Thing teams up with Starhawk to find Adam Warlock.
Wait, who's
Well,
Starhawk?
dude, why are we not doing that next?
Well, because chronologically there's some Star-Lord that comes before then. I mean, we could do that next.
Chronologically, the Thing is finding Adam Warlock, because that makes so much sense.
What better way to welcome me back than to do an Adam Warlock episode?
That's true. All right, we can do that one next.
And what better way to make a better comic than what we just read than the Thing in space?
So,
That's just fodder for hilarity.
oh, it's pretty awesome. So, Starhawk is actually one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy. So this actually takes place sometime after the Korvac saga, but before they return to their own time. So I know you guys haven't been covering the classic Guardians very much, but they're in the future, year 30,000. Their superhero team, they encounter some weird being who's a guy melded with a desk, don't ask.
I saw that
And-
Twilight Zone episode.
But we
Right.
have to ask.
No,
It's
no.
our moral imperative.
Now, moving on. So, Anyway, they chase this powerful being back to present-day Earth, um, uh, because they're worried that he's trying to kill Vance Astro before he becomes Vance Astro. So, did I mention in the classic Guardians there's a character named...
Vance Astro? No, you hadn't. Please continue.
well, Major Victory.
Oh, Major Victory.
We know Major Victory.
Right. Well, he's Vance Astro. But he is the last survivor of the 20th century, in that his awesome origin story is that in 1984 or so, in our advanced space technology, maybe it was in the 90s. Anyway, in the future, in the 90s, we want to send someone to Alpha Centauri, but clearly that journey will take so long that you can't stay awake for that. It'll take 1,000 years to get to Alpha Centauri, so they get an astronaut who has renamed himself Vance Astro. But anyway, so they get an astronaut. They put him on cold sleep and then send him to Alpha Centauri. But when
Actually,
he gets
we're gonna
there,
have to, by the way, Jesse, we're also gonna have to cover this as a major thing, because this is an important part of the new Guardians of the Galaxy storyline. Captain Victory's in it.
yeah. We've already covered some of this in the bonus episodes that you guys aren't on, but
Because we weren't invited.
well, mostly there's lots of things to cover. Anyway. You certainly could come and hang out on some more of those episodes. Anyway, point is, Vance Astro is from this time, but he gets put in cold sleep. It goes into the future, spends 1,000 years in sleep, gets there, and there's already a colony there, and they're like, "Yay, you arrived!" Because it turns out, 200 years after he left, they developed faster-than-light travel and can get there, and so they've already colonized the planet for hundreds of years by the time he shows up.
I've read that Isaac Asimov story.
Yeah. But anyway, he's alive in 20th century, so the Korvac saga includes this guy that's a villain in the future, coming back to the past, and they're not sure what he's doing there, so the Guardians come back to watch young 10-year-old Vance Astro and make sure that Korvac doesn't kill him and prevent Major Victory from becoming the thing. But what gets extra weird is that at some point they split the timelines, so Vance Astro in regular time continuity does not go into the spaceship and become Major Victory. That's a splinter timeline now, because in normal Marvel continuity, Vance Astro becomes what's his name? I'm blanking. I should know this.
Your comic knowledge fails you.
All right. Justice.
Right.
So yeah, he becomes Justice of the New Warriors, and has completely different trajectory and stuff, and he's still a character today. So now there's these two splinter characters. Anyway, doesn't matter that much for the story we're going to cover. Starhawk is from the future and a Guardian, and also really weird. We'll probably cover that when we get to the beginning of that episode. But the Guardians are hanging out in a satellite in modern-day Earth at this time. Between storylines, they're heading home, but they're making repairs as an excuse to have them do weird stuff on Earth in modern continuity. And this is where Starhawk story comes. It'll be great.
Also,
So
found
sure.
that I merged with the desk.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So doesn't Major Victory, I'm totally skipping to the modern comics, or at least not the modern comics, but the maybe 2011 run. Doesn't he come back in time, or yes, he comes back in time to bitch at the Guardians for having messed up the timeline because they're constantly jumping around in the time stream, and yet what you're telling me right now is that all Major Victory did for his entire existence is jump around in the frickin' time stream?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I had that right.
Yep. So,
Cool.
sure, we'll do that episode next because it is pretty awesome.
What a dick.
Right, I gotta go, guys.
All right, well, that's all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being on the show, guys. And we will talk to you soon.
See you next time.
Bye. See you next
See
time.
ya.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Since you weren't here when we did our intro, could you be like, hey,
Oh. I'm Jeff Davis.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, it's totally okay.
I woke up at 9 and didn't see the alert, so I went back to sleep.
That's cool. I was going to say, I usually just snag it from a different episode because I've had him say I'm Jeff Davis previously. But either way, we'll figure that out when we get to editing this episode.
I'm lazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
You didn't mention that it was a desk with a rocket engine.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like basically a god. Yeah. That was a really weird story. Maybe we should cover it.
Put a link in the Hangout if you wanted to see the full-page splash of Korvac in all of his beauty.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing this.
Oh my
it's in the-
goodness.
It's in the actual Hangout thing itself. It's not in the chat for the Hangout.
He's not a desk. He's a console. He's like a mission control console with a rocket engine attached. That's so cool.
They seem to ditch that pretty rapidly afterwards.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that reminds me, I should go ahead and edit the episode that has Monty and Gareth and the Classic Guardians, and then set up another Classic Guardians episode. Yeah, the Classic Guardians are definitely worth reading. They're amazing. They're weird, but amazing.
Oh, and I also found the Marvel 2-in-1 with The Thing and Starhawk. Starhawk, that's it.
The one who knows.
Oh, wow. That's quite the subline. Apparently that's when they're finding her.
Her, like...
Yeah, her, as in the female Adam Warlock.
Oh, I was going to say, you mean the Joaquin Phoenix movie?
No.
I was saving that as a surprise. But, yes, it's not actually the hunt for Adam Warlock. It's the hunt for her.
But it's her.
So let's see if Marvel 2-in-1 is in Unlimited.
So I have a question, even though Keenan's left. How do you guys feel about Thanos being dead?
Well, from the context of this time period, I actually like the fact that they, had a big villain, worked up to an end, and then, Adam Warlock died to defeat him, and then they're both dead for at least a decade. So,
Are they? Because
yeah.
Isn't there another Infinity War before
Sure,
that?
No. The Infinity Gauntlet is 1990. This happened in 77. So there's like 13 years of both of them dead.
Huh. So that was the Infinity War that we finished.
No, Infinity War is after Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So
they didn't start.
Gauntlet, Infinity Crusade, then Infinity War?
No, it's Gauntlet, War, Crusade.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
But, so, yeah, I don't know, what did they call, so the trade that collects the death of Thanos, they just call it Avengers versus Thanos, in a kind of
That's inspired.
Mm.
Yeah. Curses. All right, we'll have to find.
Anyway, I think it's really cool that they've killed off this villain. This villain is freaking gone. We're not going to hear from him again, as far as we're aware. And people who were reading these comics when they were being published probably, I'm making an assumption here and a generalization, please feel free to correct me, probably didn't keep reading comics in the 90s. So as far as they're concerned, Thanos is dead and never coming back. And that is some serious continuity. Way to go, Marvel.
So at some point I need to track down the first appearances of Nebula.
Mm-hmm.
Because while Thanos is dead, Nebula comes and claims to be Thanos' daughter. Okay, so that looks like 1985, so we've got a little bit of time before that. But yeah, we should definitely do that story. Looks like Avengers 257 to 260.
Nebula?
Yeah.
Wow. She's older than me. Okay,
1985.
Sorry.
You're so young.
I'm sorry.
No, it's exciting. So let's see. This was... Yeah, so we've already crossed the threshold for where I was born. That's right, because Star-Lord, it was post-Star Wars. Because I am a month younger than Star Wars.
Oh, okay. Jason was born in April of 1979, so he's alive right now.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So it looks like Marvel 2-in-1 has not issues 61 to 63 in Marvel Unlimited, so we'll have to grab that.
Okay.
I have it in my classic Guardians trade, which is awesome. But yeah, no, that's a pretty cool story. I really like that one. It brings up a lot more interesting stories. So anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Should be fun.
I guess I should stop recording so I don't have so much. I mean, cutting out the end is not a big deal.
No, let's just go to the point where we stop talking about anything important and then just clip.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I think that'll be a good episode.